All right, you guys remember this, right? I mean, it was huge back in the day. It was presented to all working Americans as the economic plan, the economic miracle that would make your golden years golden. I mean, think about the 401k. Still, to this day, you always see stories like this about all of those 401k millionaires, 27% surge in 2024. Now, here's the pitch, because everyone's gotten this pitch, and I think everyone's kind of taken the bait. 22 years old, you're making $67,000, you put in 15%, your employer matches. With no growth, you do pretty well, but with growth, forget about it. By the time you're 65, if everything goes right, you've got $6.1 million. Who wouldn't take that up, right? Who wouldn't? You just consistently invest, and through this time, you wake up one day and you're worth $6 million. Of course, it sounds amazing on paper, but right now, let me just share some of the averages with you. So the average across all age groups is $315,000. In your 60s, where it's supposed to be $6.1 million, the average is a little bit less than $600,000, and median is less than $200,000. Now, and now there are more stories of the great 401k experiment being a failure. More and more people are saying for one reason or another, it just simply did not work out. So where's the truth? Where does it lie? Joining me now, Walser Wealth Management President Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, I mean, listen, you manage money for folks, I guess typically a little wealthier, but everyone has a 401k. Everyone was made promises by the 401k. Let's talk about where it all went wrong.
So the 401k came out in the Revenue Act of 78, Charles, and it came out as an addition to the golden parachute and the pension that highly compensated executives had, and it was assumed to always have professional money management.
Wait a minute, hold on. It was designed initially for a niche group of people.
Highly compensated executives that would be assumed to have professional money management. And it was basically rolled out through a consulting company, not intended for how it was used, and no professional money management, kind of a do-it-yourself plan, no mathematical testing, no regression analysis to see if it would actually be able to replace the pension system.
Who came up with the bright idea that it should replace the pension system?
Well, it was in the Revenue Act of 78, but a benefits company named Johnson Company basically implemented it as a bonus plan.
All right, and so where do we go from here then? I mean, it's one of these things where...
One thing that I noticed is that basically you saw that if you contributed with no growth, you were going to have over 800,000, and the average for 65-year-old was only 500,000. So not only are they not contributing enough, but there are also losses, and that's the problem. So when you start to introduce the concept of private equity, as President Trump is about to do, that's great, but that's usually something that's relegated to an accredited investor. Accredited investor is somebody by definition who has $1 million net worth, excluding their primary residence, or makes $200,000 as a single or $300,000 as a married couple for the last couple of years. So now that's all going to go out the window, and it's going to be democratized by putting it into the 401k.
And see, this is what makes me nervous. Before, say you had to have a certain kind of ability, a certain kind of knowledge, a certain ability to take risk. Again, to your point, okay, maybe this happens and happens very, very soon. But let's talk about it, because on one hand, it seems like a pretty good deal. We'll put up at some point, we'll catch up with this stuff. So Jared, one of my favorites, actually put out this that I thought was interesting, because this is a week before the scuttlebutt came. 75% of Harvard's endowment is in legal crap, right? So, and he talked about the 75% being in private equity, hedge funds, and real estate.
A liquid, yep.
Liquidity is a problem, and still the track record is absolutely phenomenal. At least some of the track records. Apollo put out a track record not long ago, and of course, it's just. Let's talk about this, because we only have 2 minutes left. The risk right now, I mean, obviously it's a good deal if you get the right ones, but how do people know?
The problem is that the 401k administrators don't want the liability of actually advising you what to invest in, whether it's right for your risk profile, right? So they're not going to tell you, yes, you should do this. They're just going to say, here's the new offerings, and then whatever the prospectus is and whatever the disclaimers are, that's what people are going to have to read. You know what those are like, Charles? They're this thick. Nobody reads them. They can't understand. They're full of legalese. And so people aren't going to read them, and they're not going to really understand what their risk is. I'm not against private equity, absolutely. But to give private equity to every investor in their 401k when they have no understanding of the risk level that it could be, the illiquidity, like people don't even understand what a target date fund is necessarily. And I'm not saying that that's bad, but they just say, hey, this is what you do, automatically enroll, automatically contribute, and don't worry about it. Just set it and forget it. And that's not something you can do with private equity.
So then what is a potential solution? I mean, obviously the 401ks by themselves haven't lived up to the hype. You're saying that there could be some good, but also enhanced risk with PE.
There's going to have to be some way that people that are investing without any kind of financial advising can get some kind of risk scoring or something to understand if they're taking on too much risk with their private equity investments inside their 401k. These are their retirement dollars, you know.
Right.
So
yeah. I mean, and listen, I agree, and I think this is something that hurt a lot of people everywhere I go. One of the reasons they're reluctant to invest in the market is because their 401k has underperformed. And they've lost faith in all of it.
That's right.
I can't let you go without asking what you're buying right now, what you like right now.
Right now, I've been on this kick for Eli Lilly, and it's because of their Zepbound, right? They have they're putting $27 billion into 4 U.S. domestic plans, so I love that, manufacturing in the U.S., but also just their weight loss. They expect to have 60% of the market, which is huge, massive, because they have about a 20% effective versus Novo Nordisk, which is only 13%. So we expect this Zepbound to come out and just kind of take 60% of the market share. So I think Eli Lilly's